Hello the internet, my name is Wesley and today is day 4 of putting together a DIY synthesizer for the Synth library of Portland. All these little modules are 3D printed and handmade by me, and they're all going to be going into a big rack that I'm going to donate so that the people in my city can enjoy the modules that I'm not using on a daily basis. Today is going to be about this basic utility module. It's a mixer. Oh sheesh, I got all the way to the end of recording and editing this thing and then realized that there's a small error in the placement of one of the power filtering caps in the diagram behind me, so you'll want to use this diagram that's on screen right now. It'll also be linked in the description, but yeah, use this one and not the one that's behind me on the green screen. Okay, sorry, back to your regularly scheduled programming. So this little strip board diagram that I've got here is my own take, but circuits like this are floating around all over the internet, so it's kind of hard to pin this down. But I think what I've seen most similar to this that I've got going on here is the Look Mom No Computer super simple mixer. I think that's what I based it on, but in any case, it's kind of hard to pin down because this is somewhat of a textbook example. But here's basically how it works. You can plug something into any of these jacks here. Like let's say you have multiple oscillators all going into a filter, or multiple synth voices that you want all mixed down into one signal. You just plug them in, and then each jack has a corresponding input attenuator that you can twist all the way from mute to full volume. So let's take a look at the anatomy of it. I'm going to scooch just a smidge so you can take a look at this diagram here. Yeah, so I've only drawn out one instance of the input circuit, and there will be 6 of them, or one for each input. But you can see the signal goes in, goes to a potentiometer, and the wiper on this potentiometer is the signal that goes into the little TLO72 chip. And so that wiper can either be connected directly to the signal, so you get full volume, or it can swipe all the way to the ground connection, so that'll mean that input is totally silent. And then, of course, there's like variable resistance in between to get your different volume. So then it goes down a 100K resistor into what's called the summing node. So you can see there's a bunch of these 100K resistors, each corresponding to their own input. And the other side of those resistors, they all meet in one place. They all connect to this little piece of copper here, and that's called a summing node. So anytime you want to hack more inputs onto something where you see this similar structure, like a bunch of inputs and they all go through a resistor that's the same value as each other, and then connect to like one little node, well, that's your summing node, and you can hack in new inputs by just grabbing another resistor that's the same value as the others, in this case 100K. So you just take another 100K resistor, tie it into this summing node, and then add another input using these same input jack and potentiometer. So this is something that I've done in a lot of places to add new CV inputs onto my filters or new audio inputs or whatever. Any place where you see a mixer, you can just add more inputs that way. It's really easy. That's a great trick to know. And then under my elbow here is this power connector. Red is 12 volts, black is for ground, and then the yellow is for minus 12 volts. Different people annotate those different ways, but that's how I do it. You can use one of these little box style Euro rack keyed power headers is the best way to do that, and it just sits directly on there. I'm going to be including this specific one in the donation synth for the Synth Library of Portland, but if you want to make one for yourself, you can definitely use this strip board layout that I've got here. But there is a couple things you'll want to know if you end up doing that. If you look at the diagram behind me, you can see the copper strips and the components at the same time, but if you look at this physical example, you're going to see only the components that are attached to the board, because the copper strips, I don't know how well you can see this, but they're on the other side. So these diagrams are done with a kind of little x-ray vision to where you can see both the components and the copper strip board. But you'll have to keep in mind that all the copper strips and all the little drill points that you see there are actually mirrored. They're on the other side of the board, not on the visible side. Otherwise, it'd be really hard to solder that stuff down correctly. So the benefits of a really simple mixer like this are that, like I said, you can hack in as many inputs as you want. And also, it is like dirt cheap. I mean, these TL072 op amps are like, I don't know, what, 50 cents? I think they're less than $1. You got a little bit of strip board, and then just a few resistors that are what, like maybe a cent or 10 cents each, a few cents a pop for the capacitors. I mean, this thing is dead cheap. Honestly, the most expensive thing is going to be the jacks and the potentiometers, but even those aren't too bad. You can get away for like maybe $1 or so each. So you could construct something like this for, I don't know, like $15, $20, maybe less. So if you're willing to DIY, it's great to build one or maybe even a few of these. This episode was a little bit shorter and simpler than the others because I'm a little low on Steam today, but do feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see other modules that have more in-depth demos and stuff like that, and you can see everything that goes into the donation synth. So thanks very much. I've been Wesley. Have an awesome day. I'll be posting a link to this diagram in the video description.